It's the second episode of the Gerontology journey.
I'm Francesca.
I'm Cindy.
And we are going to start off a little bit differently than last time. But last time we talked a lot about gerontology in the beginning. We'll just redefine it. It is the study of aging. And we read an NPR article that's pretty recent, and it was really, really cool. They interviewed 100 100-year-olds, which is a
Centenarian. I love talking about this because I think so much about the study of older adults is always like, how do people live longer? And there's always kind of this fascination with centenarians.
Do you want to live to be 100?
I don't know. I don't think so. I'm pretty sure my mom will, but I don't know if I do.
I can't say that I want to live to be 100, but maybe I do.
I think there's also so many cute and adorable little 101, 102, 103-year-olds that we run across now.
I always joke that I'm going to get older and older, and I'm going to get shorter, and my hair is going to get longer, and it'll drag behind me like a snail. So that's my real goal in life.
Well, let's get into it. What did the article say?
So first and foremost, nearly half do strength training, which is super cool because I feel like we have this idea, especially of older women, where they're just very frail and petite and tiny. But, I mean, these ladies are lifting weights.
Yes, I also really loved that 30% still work in their garden. And I think we don't really think about how much working in the garden is actually physical exercise.
I mean, you're getting down onto your knees, you have to crouch down, you have to, like, dig with your hands, and it's a lot of arm strength, and there's a lot of, like, hand-eye coordination that goes with gardening.
And also just being outside.
Right.
And soaking up the beautiful environment, tending to your flowers.
That vitamin D.
I think it kind of leads into the next one that is meditation, right?
Right, meditation.
And what's the percentage of that?
Can they go hand in hand, gardening, meditation? I think they can.
I feel like it.
36% meditate still.
I think that's really cool. And then, of course, everyone's really focused on what do centenarians eat. I've read numerous articles about this. Blue Zones talk about it heavily. Someone will say, oh, I eat 2 eggs a day and smoke.
A glass of red wine and dark chocolate, right?
Yes, but 67% of these centenarians do eat healthy.
And my favorite, Francesca's fun fact of the day, 40% of centenarians play video games.
That's so cool. Francesca, you are going to live to be 100 years old.
First and foremost, think about how centenarians saw video games literally get created and then move from, like a Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, all the way back to like a stand-up video game. What was it? Pong?
Mm-hmm.
And now they're playing video games on their phones, maybe. So very, very cool. Older adults playing video games.
Yes, I actually think that playing video games as well really does help for brain health.
Hand-eye coordination as well, I would think. And then it didn't go into it in the article, but I think there's a social aspect to a lot of video games that older adults can benefit from. So maybe by the time I'm 100, I'll have internet video game friends.
And maybe you'll be like playing virtual video games and in that realm, of course.
We'll see. We'll find out. Well, maybe we won't.
Yeah, but let's jump into our episode. So last time we really kind of touched on the fact that we both want to age at home. And when we sit down with older adults within our career, because we both do directly work with them, that's kind of the thing that we hear a lot is that people want to stay at home and be there for as long as possible.
I mean, older adults do statistically want to stay at home as long as possible, and policymakers also want them at home longer.
Absolutely. So we're excited to talk about this.
So first and foremost, we're going to talk about living in your home and how to make that home safe for your aging body. There are a couple of things you can do to kind of modify your home. If you're super rich, obviously it's going to be a lot easier, but there are simple modifications you can make to your home if you're not super rich. And I think the most popular thing and probably the cheapest thing on this list is probably a nightlight.
Absolutely. So I think nightlights, we were talking about this earlier. When folks talk about nightlights, I immediately think about little children. And that's because I have them all over my house for when my young kids, 5 and 6, need to get up to use the restroom. But they really are helpful for all ages, but in particular for older adults. especially older adults who still have something in their home that may be a big no-no, which is the floor runner or the oriental rug. Beautiful, beautiful rugs that look great. But when you're using a walker or you are a fall risk of any kind with a cane, or if you're doing the furniture surfing, so grabbing onto furniture so you don't fall down, those floor rugs are really a really big problem. And having that nightlight will help see it, right? See the floor, hopefully not trip. Hopefully you won't trip over the family pet or your pet either, and to make it to the rooms safely.
It also helps a lot with depth perception, and that is something we kind of lose as we get older. Knowing how close the counter is, how close the doorknob is, how close your bed is. A lot of older adults don't realize where the bed is in relation to where they're standing, and so they go to sit down and they miss the bed.
And you just do not want to fall at all. What I will say is we talk about rugs all the time. I feel like in life, we're like, oh, someone fell, they tripped over a rug. When do you think is the best time to remove a rug?
I would say if you start noticing that your gait is changing even a little bit, if you're having trouble picking your foot up off the ground and placing it back down completely, if you have knee trouble, or if you've had a recent fall and you're coming home, maybe you're coming home with a new cane or a walker, that rug should be gone, and any physical therapist coming into your home will probably scold you for it.
Yeah,
So,
definitely. You told me today, we were talking about this going over the episode, and I love that you said if you have a rug, it should be nailed down, right?
be nailed down. Absolutely.
So that no one will fall. I think the most important thing to have in a home when you realize that, hey, what if something happens and I might fall or I might need help, is actually the most important numbers that you need on the fridge. I think that's very important to have. They sell templates for lists like that you can purchase, of course, like dry erase boards where you can fill them in off Amazon. But it is also something that you can grab a piece of paper and write down those important numbers. Francesca, what are some of the numbers that folks should include?
So first and foremost, 911. If you have an emergency, do not bother calling your neighbor. Do not bother calling
Your daughter.
your son that lives like 3 miles down the road. Oh, he could get here any minute. Like, just call 911, especially if you've fallen down. And it's good to note 6 out of 10 falls happen at home. That's 60% of falls for older adults happen in the home. So once that does happen, it can be detrimental. Call 911, and then when emergency services gets there, they're going to look at your fridge and they're going to say, like, hey, it says right here, call the daughter, call the son, call the primary doctor is a good one, because the doctor, first off, they're going to want to know that you fell down, and they might even visit you in the hospital and give advice to the ER physician.
Absolutely. I think all of those are really important to have and to start thinking about, right? So absolutely, if you do not have that, please get that done.
I should have it on my fridge.
Yes.
Like, everyone should have it on their fridge.
Absolutely. I think another form that's really important to have is the Polst.
Right. So a Polst is a physician's order of life-saving treatment. So that basically tells emergency services what you want to have happen. Do you want to be on life-sustaining treatment? Do you not want to be on life-sustaining treatment? What is going to happen in the event that something does happen to you and you're getting transferred to the hospital? It'll be in your medical records as well. Everyone always waits till the last minute.
They wait way too long. What I will tell you is if you are at home and you have a medical emergency, they're going to look for this right away. So I actually do recommend having this very easily accessible. A lot of people keep it on the side of their fridge or near their front door.
Usually pink.
It's typically hot pink. We will definitely include a link for it down below so that you have it. If you have not talked to your physician about this, this is something that you should do right away, is talk to your physician about this form. I say it's never too early to at least be thinking about it and having conversations with the important decision makers in your life, right?
Think about it as kind of your will, your medical will. It should be in the same paperwork that you keep your will in, last will and testament, just so everyone knows where to look in case of an emergency.
Absolutely. I also think a really important one that is very easy and simple to do when you start needing help in the restroom is a handrail, right? In the restroom. Instead of using your towel rack or your towel bar.
Kind of looks like a towel rack.
Yes, absolutely. You can purchase them and purchase them off Amazon or at Home Depot. Have your son install it, or daughter, or local handyman, and have it there. And then when you need assistance in the restroom with getting up, you can have that, so you won't use the towel rack and then fall.
So most falls, I believe, happen in the restroom.
Yes.
And it's because you're sitting down to use the toilet, you reach up for the shower door handle, or you reach for the towel bar, you reach for the edge of the sink, and you don't quite make it, right? It's a very dangerous place to fall because there's not enough space typically for you to safely fall. So you're gonna most likely hit your head, or you're gonna hit your arm or your elbow. There's gonna be something a little bit more severe happening in a bathroom. And obviously the floor can be really slippery, so it's harder to kind of catch yourself in the bathroom.
Absolutely. I totally agree. One thing that I did not know that you could purchase online and put together easily were ramps. You told me that.
Yeah, so they have a kit that you can slide pieces into, and you can kind of adjust the length of it. And it's really cool. I wish my mom had it when she got in a really, really bad car accident. She was actually in a wheelchair, and we have like 2 steps that get up into the house, and we didn't consider it until we needed to consider it, right? And we're like, how are we going to get this wheelchair up? Because she had broken ribs, so we couldn't lift and transfer her either very easily.
Wow.
Yeah, so we figured it out, but it took us a lot longer just standing outside the house, staring at the front door like, what are we going to do?
It's so interesting because when I first became a part of this overall industry and working with older adults, really ramps were something that were not easily put together like
Right.
that.
You had to like get someone to build it for you.
Build it, and it just wasn't cost effective for every single family.
Yeah.
I think another really kind of easy one to do, which I'm a big fan of, is a transfer pole.
What do you call them?
Oh my gosh, I tell everyone this. I call them a stripper pole because that's exactly what it looks like. Can you describe what it looks like?
So it's a pole that attaches to the ceiling and the floor, and it has like a little squiggly, almost like an S in it, so that there's an extra handle. Here we go, making gerontology sexy, just like we said we would.
Absolutely. I love it. If someone is able to use it and they're able to grab on and pull up, then I'm a big advocate for having that next to maybe their recliner, and then another one next to the bed. What I really feel like is it's great for people to stay independent as long as possible.
Right. And if your goal is to stay at home longer, these are pretty low cost, typically, solutions for you to do that. Right.
Absolutely. And I think one question we both receive in our real life careers all the time is, what does Medicare cover for equipment? And
Very
so,
little.
but
Or not. It depends on your opinion.
But there are some things they cover. They do cover some durable medical equipment,
Right.
which we're going to talk about right now.
So durable medical equipment, you typically hear it referred to as DME, is equipment that is built to last at least 3 years, is seen as medically necessary. You have to have a medical reason to
Absolutely.
be approved for it via Medicare, and you have to either be sick or injured for it to be used or useful. And that is kind of Medicare's definition of durable medical equipment.
Absolutely. So, DME, durable medical equipment, is often something that folks will ask for before they're ready. So for instance,
Yeah.
maybe some folks will say, I want a hospital bed, to their primary care physician, and their primary care physician will say, you do not qualify under Medicare guidelines. And by that, they're essentially saying, hey, you are not sick or injured enough to use a hospital bed. You're not ready for this to be covered by Medicare. When it is covered by Medicare, it'll be covered by Medicare Part B. And of course, you will likely still have a deductible as well. There are times, for instance, if you're in a hospital or a skilled nursing facility, that you will now qualify for the hospital bed. And oftentimes discharge will discuss that with you and ask if you would like them. But besides a medical bed, there's other things as well. I think some very popular ones are canes, commodes.
Walker, wheelchair.
Yes.
Typically, a lot of people will buy the cane that kind of has that candy cane shape. That is not the safest option. You want a 4 or a 5-point cane. That's going to be a lot better, and that's the one that Medicare covers. So don't go to Walmart and buy the candy cane looking cane. get Medicare to cover the 4-point cane.
Absolutely. And the commode is covered. You don't necessarily need to get that from CVS. I think a lot of families just automatically go and purchase that from the drugstore. All diabetic equipment actually should be covered by Medicare Part B. And then another kind of popular one is lifts. So like, for instance, a Hoyer lift, which is a mechanical lift if you need that.
Yeah. And mechanical is like a loose word to use.
Yes.
Sometimes I've seen them covered by Medicare where it just acts the same as a car jack and you have to physically, pump the person into the lift, and it can be a little bit difficult to get to know how to use that. Maybe we can cover that in a future episode, because I have access to that equipment and we can show you how to use it.
I think that would be really cool. Yeah. So we just talked about things that Medicare covered. And before that, we talked about kind of some small upgrades that you could do. But we fell down the rabbit hole, and there's some really cool technology that either just came out or is continuously being developed that we're really excited to see and talk about and share with you guys. Of course, the cost of updating things is significant.
But there are some things that you can buy that have a big impact that aren't that expensive. And
absolutely.
Make it a little bit easier to age in place, right? And stay in your home.
Absolutely. And all of them feature technology.
Technology for older adults really is not a new concept. I think I just wrote about this in one of my papers for my master's program, but the original stair lift, that thing that is in the Addams Family home, I think it was built in 1920.
That is really cool.
Yeah. So that's an old piece of technology.
Oh my gosh, now I love looking at history. So now I'm going to look at like the original one and like who decided to develop it. I think that's really cool. We'll share that next time,
definitely.
Right? We're going to find all that out for you. I think the most popular piece of technology that people first start with when they decide they're going to stay home, we're going to talk about a very specific brand because I think it's the one that people see.
It's kind of like the idea of Kleenex, right? We call it a Kleenex, but it's really a facial tissue.
Yeah.
This is kind of the same concept, and it's a life alert.
I've fallen and I can't get up. I think those commercials like made it so everyone knows what it is. Right. But essentially, Life Alert, when you use it, I think it's really important for people to understand that you're actually locked into a 3-year contract with that particular brand.
It's about $50 a month.
It can be more if you add on GPS tracking, and it can add up to about $70 to $90. If you have a loved one with dementia and you are with Life Alert and you need the GPS tracking, I think that's necessary to have.
I mean, that's something that cost analysis is worth it, in my opinion.
Absolutely. But some other alternatives to the GPS tracking that people will do is they will put in the shoe
like an Apple Tag.
Yeah, that they'll put in people's shoes and things like that, or in their purse.
Car keys.
Yeah, so there's different things.
I have an Apple Tag just for myself.
Do you really?
I do, because I lose my keys like nobody's business.
When we talk about technology that scares me, that scares me.
That scares you?
Yes, I'm like, oh, I don't want people to track me.
But another useful piece of technology that she has that I don't like is like an Amazon Dot or Echo or a Google.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with those.
So it's something obviously you put in your home as like a hub, and you can ask it questions. And the reason this is deemed very, very useful to older adults is because if you do fall in the shower, or you fall in the hallway, or you fall in the kitchen, and you don't have a life alert, you can call out to Alexa or whoever else that you have named your system and say, hey, I've fallen down, call 911.
I think they're really important to have. I actually do have one in our bathroom because we like to listen to music. But in the event that someone were to fall, then they can use it to call us. They can actually say, call mom, call whoever you need to call. But really, if you fall, please call 911. I think if you're not using Life Alert or a similar brand, again, Life Alert is
tons of brands of that same.
So many. Locally, we have Electronic Caregiver here, and you can go on Amazon and look, and just the amount of them. Some of them are month to month. Yeah. Some of them you don't have to have a 3-year contract with. So absolutely check them all out. See which one works best for you.
And another cool feature of the Google Hub Amazon Alexa situation is you can program it to remind you to take your medications. You can program it to remind you to do daily tasks. If you have a loved one who has dementia in your home, you can say, hey, remind Francesca that she needs to take this pill in this box at this time, and it will do it. And it creates a lot of independence, right? Whereas me having to tell my older adult mother or father to do it every day might get very annoying for the both of us.
Yes, I love the fact of using the features to call. And you can also pair that. They sell them, of course, on Amazon. Amazon sells everything. You can pair it with a medication dispenser that will dispense it. They are expensive, but they're pretty cool. And there's ones that alarm, so you could do that alarm with the Alexa alarm. Ones that can even like populate a little video of someone taking the medication. So
very fancy
and very cool. I think one of the coolest things that when we were looking at technology is the cool wellness toilets that are out there. I love this.
I think they're very weird.
She was not into it.
I mean, I'm into it for some reasons, and there are some reasons I'm not into it, but we'll do a little deep dive. No pun intended.
Yes. So what I think is cool about these wellness toilets that are coming out, and there's different levels of technology. Toto has a brand where it's an actual toilet, and then Kohler has something that you would add on that's almost like a video sensor device. But essentially what it does is it tracks your urine and your feces. So for example, if someone thinks that maybe they have a UTI and the urine that's being shown is cloudy or it doesn't look right, it will actually take photos of that, and you can send that to the physician, and then the physician can say and decide, hey, your
that's a little too green.
Primary care physician can say, hey, that looks cloudy. Perhaps you have a UTI. Maybe it'll save a
Come
trip.
On down.
Yeah, it might save a trip. And it will do the same thing with poop. So it will tell you about the color and so forth. And I think it really can be used as a health tracker.
Right.
But my question becomes, are we tracking too much health?
I mean, I think it can be cool for a number of reasons. But I think if you don't have an older adult at home or someone with special needs and you just are obsessing over like the color of that, you can do some other things with your time.
I mean, I guess for you and I, it
money.
would just say you guys are eating too much ramen noodles.
Yeah. I mean, I think that in the very, very, very near future, there will be toilets that can detect UTIs automatically, and you won't need a doctor urine analysis or even STDs or early cancer diagnostics, right, in your feces, because they have those kits that you send in your samples and they analyze it. If we can skip that step and we can have earlier detections of diseases, that is very, very cool.
Yes, absolutely. And I was reading that the wellness toilets in particular, hopefully soon they'll be able to really highlight and know, okay, is there some fear of cancer or kidney issues? I think really that is kind of the cool part of it. You brought up STD. We're talking about older adults. And
older adults have sex.
I know, that's the thing that I think people don't like to think about, but they do. They really honestly do. We will do episodes on it in the future, but...
And it's going to be cool. And it's going to be weird.
And the reality is many older adults do not use protection.
Right.
I mean, and they might have multiple partners, right? So
especially if they're in an assisted living.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
But besides that, we'll get back to technology. Something that we both think is really cool is very, very new. I don't even know if it's out on the market yet, but it is something that goes underneath the floor and it can detect differences in your gait, and it can pre-detect falls, which is crazy to say because when you work with older adults, that's something we are constantly talking about. And we always say, we can't prevent falls. It's almost impossible to prevent someone
Absolutely.
From falling. But this underfloor technology, it's called Sense Floor.
Yeah, I was just looking. If you saw me looking, I was just trying to look on our notes to see it. It looks so cool. Yeah. It really does. We'll put the website down below for gerontology nerds. This is like, oh my gosh, we were wanting to see videos. This
is like when the iPhone first came out for normal people.
Yes,
we're very into it.
I have noticed that it's really being marketed to assisted livings, which I think is the right place for it. Right, assisted living, independent living. So there's no cameras involved. We're going to talk about another system that assisted livings are using where it's an AI system and there's
Right.
some cameras involvement. But here it's just a sensored floor. It makes total sense to me. I think maybe even hospitals should implement
Right.
this. Very cool. It is probably cost prohibitive to bring this into your personal home.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
I think eventually technology will get there where there will be carpets we can bring into the home. But really falling it's a problem. It's a problem if you live at home. It's a problem if you live at assisted living. It's a problem if you live in a skilled nursing.
It's a problem if you go to the grocery store.
Yeah,
It's a problem everywhere.
I really think one thing that families think when they move to assisted living is, well, falls will never happen. And the reality is we just cannot stop that.
Right. And the cool thing about this flooring is that it will detect even a slight change in gait, and you can work on physical therapy to correct it.
That's
So
wonderful.
that's really, really cool when you think about the idea of preventative health, and getting in front of a problem instead of you've fallen, now you have a broken hip, a broken arm, you have a change in your memory, right? That can be life-changing.
Absolutely. The other technology we're talking about, I absolutely love. Sometimes I feel like I kind of work for them in my career. I am in a lot of assisted livings, and so I know a lot about this program. It's called Safely You, and essentially it goes up in a room, and it's AI technology, and so it can detect you falling, and while you're falling, there it starts calling the people there, the caregiver. It can get eventually to the nurse, the executive director, until someone comes, and it records, I believe, 5 to 10 minutes before the fall and 5 to 10 minutes after. But what I really love about that is during that recording time, you can see why someone's falling. Like, are they falling because the recliner happens to be the same color as the wall? Like, is their vision different?
Are they
And
putting their shoes on?
yeah,
Are they missing the bed frame? What I really like about it is you can see whether or not they hit their head. And
yes.
so in
Whether they
assisted,
need
yeah,
medical.
right. In assisted living, if you fall, most of the time they have to call an ambulance.
Absolutely.
With this technology, if they didn't hit their head, they might not have to call an ambulance.
Yes. One of the complaints that I hear from families when we are talking about things like this, like Safely You or new technology like the toilets, is will caregivers check on my loved one less
Right.
at home or assisted living, because you can have a caregiver at home, which we'll get into in a few minutes. I would say technology is not supposed to replace a caregiver now.
Right.
Eventually it might. Who knows? Elon Musk is probably working on a robotic solution.
I'm going
However,
to say no. Never.
however, that human element is so important.
Right.
The caregiver really should still be checking on mom or dad. That should not be instead of.
It's not a replacement, it's an enhancement,
Absolutely.
first and foremost. Second, I mean, when we're talking about technology in the home and we're talking about cameras that are recording your loved one or things that are listening to you, toilets that are taking pictures of your urine, a lot of older adults are very, very skeptical of technology in the home, as am I. You know, I don't necessarily love the idea of a fully electronic home.
That's why she doesn't have the Amazon
That's
Dot like I do.
But interestingly enough, the more well off you are as an older adult, the more likely you are to adopt new technology. And a lot of older adults kind of have the idea that this is cool and it's cool for someone my age. It's just not cool for me. And I don't want it.
Absolutely. I would say one of the pieces of advice I would give if you really want to implement this and bring this in with your loved one is to really have open conversations about it. Show how the technology works. Come from an education piece versus a threatening piece, right? And saying, if you don't do this, I'm moving you to assisted living tomorrow. I know that's frustrating and you may feel like you have to get there, but I think oftentimes instead of talking to your loved one like a child or a teenager, because that would be like me talking to my 16-year-old, right? If you don't do this, you can't drive. What I really think is important is educating them, showing them how it works, having them understand why it is a benefit to their life, I think is very important.
And there are technologies that we haven't even touched on, like things that are medical devices that you can implant to help detect early heart attacks or
Yes.
prevent early heart attacks. And I mean, technology is just endless at this point, and I think it's very, very cool to use it in this space. We call it Gerontology, so it has its own name, which is also very cool.
Yes, and I know that as our podcast goes on, we will eventually just be exploring more options, interviewing people. It's something we
Right.
really love to learn about and see how it can be used.
And it can help you stay at home longer, but like we were saying, it will not replace an actual caregiver.
No, not at all.
And caregiving is very, very expensive. It is something I've spent a large part of my career talking about, having a caregiver come into the home. There is a website that is a very accurate predictor of how much it will cost and how much it's going to cost. And here we're in California. It's a very expensive state to live in. Right now, we're about $45 to $55 an hour to bring a caregiver in. And if you're having a caregiver 24/7 for a month, that's between $30,000 and $40,000. That is not cheap.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important to note that you are talking about using a caregiving agency.
Right.
Those rates are not hiring your neighbor next door and or someone you found on Facebook Marketplace. That is not something that in a professional aspect or realm I am comfortable ever recommending. Can you explain what some of the reasons why someone shouldn't just hire someone they met through church?
So first and foremost, if you're going to hire a professional caregiving agency, they have a hiring process and they hire and vet their caregivers. They do background checks, they fingerprint them, they have their fingerprints on file. So if anything were to happen, they know where to find them, right? And if you make a police report, everything is there. So that's very, very important versus my neighbor's grandson's best friend's cousin. That might be a little bit harder to track, right?
Absolutely. I think it's also really important to note that things happen.
Right.
And let's say, and I'm not saying this to be scary, but really things happen. So let's say you have a concern that your caregiver took something.
Right.
If you are working with an agency, they can replace that something
Right.
if there is proof. Let's say there is a video or it was earrings and the caregiver is not wearing the earrings. That is not something that if it is someone you hired on Facebook, that will likely end well.
Right.
Whereas the caregiving agency can just fire them, correct?
Right. So a professional caregiving agency is licensed, bonded, and insured. So they're going to be bonded for quite a bit of money typically, and they're going to be insured as well. So if something does go missing, that insurance claim can cover it, as well as, if it's something that's irreplaceable, let's say they steal your birth certificate for whatever reason, that caregiving agency can go through all the lengths needed to make that right. So that's pretty important when you're dealing with a stranger in your home. And, that can get pretty scary when, not to scare people, but if something does go wrong and that person harms themselves in your home, if they trip and fall in your home, that can lead to a lot of insurance claims that you just don't want.
And a lawsuit.
Yeah,
exactly. It could lead to a lawsuit. Again, we are not trying to scare you. I think it's really important to have that education to know if your loved one or for yourself and you get in a pickle, you're now in the skilled nursing facility, you can't go home without care, and you're determining, do I go on Facebook? Do I ask a friend?
Right.
Or do I bite the bullet and pay a professional caregiving agency? I also kind of want to touch on the fact that this is typically not covered by insurance. There are now exceptions for it to be covered. And it is, of course, covered by long-term care insurance as well.
So long-term care insurance we're seeing less and less of that pop up.
Yes.
But I have a long-term care insurance policy for myself. It's something that you buy into at a younger age, similar to life insurance, and you get the benefit as you age. And then once you enact the long-term care policy, or a lot of us call it LTC policy, you can start getting that benefit. And a lot of people don't want to use it for whatever reason.
Please use it. It really is one of the coolest benefits. It can cover care. I have seen people use it to cover, they have these really awesome old grandfather policies that are
Right.
lifetime, and it's covered all of their care, and it really has enabled them to get the care they need and live the lifestyle they want.
And stay at home.
Absolutely. If you guys want a full episode on long-term care, please comment below, because we would be totally into doing that. Sometimes we have to determine, like, is this too cool or is this too nerdy? And of course, we would bring on a speaker to talk with us about it.
Absolutely. And it's important to know, we're talking about staying at home as long as possible. It's everyone's lifelong dream, as we've sold it to you now. But people who live at home, as opposed to people who live in long-term care settings, like a skilled nursing facility, an assisted living, or a small 6-bed facility, the people who live at home actually live a little bit longer statistically.
I find that so fascinating.
Yeah.
I really honestly do. And I actually would think it's flipped because of the social isolation piece.
Social isolation is the silent killer.
It really honestly is. The Surgeon General's warning has stuck with me. I probably tell everyone this as often as possible.
They said it in 2023.
I know.
That's pretty recent.
But I say this to everyone, right? That social isolation is just as bad as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. It really is a problem. And I think for me in my career, when I sit and I talk to people and we talk about how many people do you speak to or see on a regular basis, and some people, it's a neighbor when walking in the neighborhood, and or maybe the cashier at the checkout stand,
at the grocery store,
and
the librarian at the library as you're getting your library
yes
books.
It really is important to be around others.
So the likelihood that you are going to successfully age, which we covered in the last episode, and the likelihood of you staying home longer are directly tied. So that is pretty crazy when you think about it. And you think about happiness in older adults, and we said that the happiest people in America today are older adults. However, depression is more common in older adults than dementia.
I think that's probably underdiagnosed, right?
Underdiagnosed and undertreated. And I think a lot of people we have this assumption that older adults are crabby and they're angry, and that's literally the complete opposite, and it's not the goal. And I think a lot of even health professionals are going to look at an older adult and say, okay, Francesca's just being crabby.
Or you don't feel good, right? Okay, my back hurts. I don't feel good. This is why they're acting this way. When really, maybe they're depressed. Maybe they lost their spouse 6 months ago and they're just not in the same social group they once were. I know I would be devastated at my age to become a widow. And so my expectation is that someone would still be sad. They may feel depression and they may need some treatment for that. And that doesn't always necessarily mean medication.
Right.
But treatment is important. Talk therapy is important. Grief counseling is very important. What I would say is if you are in a situation to have a caregiver and you live at home, get one if you're in the VA, if you are a veteran, there are many times that you can have a caregiver.
Covered, yeah.
That it can be covered.
And a lot of veterans, this is a good segue, a lot of veterans are suicidal. A lot of older adults are suicidal because of social isolation. That's another thing that's directly tied. So the more an older adult is socially isolated, the higher the chance for suicide, which is so sad to think about. And I think about, my mom, she doesn't work anymore, and she spends a lot of time in the home, but she spent less time in the home when she didn't have a vehicle. Now that she has a car, she spends a lot more time out, going to the library, going shopping, things like that. And I think in the last episode, we talked about how hard it is for older adults to give up their car keys. And that's a big reason why. They want to see their friends, right?
Absolutely. I think visiting people is such an important part. Having lunch with people, really utilizing senior centers, day centers.
Bingo.
Yes, bingo's a big one. We love bingo here. And we actually have bingo with where I work, and it's just something that we truly love to do on a monthly basis,
Right.
and see the same people and get to know them. It's fun for us. It's fun for the older adults as well.
Yeah.
I think there's so many cool things. And if you are at home and you are lower income and you are needing food, there are things like Meals on Wheels. And what I love about Meals on Wheels and why it ties in well to social isolation is that is someone coming in, that is
Right.
someone visiting you, and maybe you're housebound. And having that person visit you, I think, is so important.
So Meals on Wheels actually does a lot of research for older adults, and they have a specific form that they will fill out if they feel like the older adult is depressed, and that is so, so cool.
I love that. Absolutely. There's so many organizations locally to you, even that will work with older adults that will help with social isolation. If you're watching this and you feel a calling to that, I really recommend that you look up one. You can even volunteer at your local Meals on Wheels.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of people just kind of just discount, like, where am I going to find friends?
Yes.
How am I going to make friends? I don't want to go out there and feel awkward. Your neighbor or the woman across the street or the gentleman who lives 2 streets over are thinking the exact same thing. So, I mean, I love the library. I absolutely, like, I'm the biggest nerd. And I think that that's a really good place to start. Like, go to the library. You don't have to talk to anyone. Just kind of like browse. And then when you're checking out, go and ask the librarian, hey, do you have a book club? Do you have a book club for older adults? Do you have a book club for women? Do you have a book club for mystery novels? Just anything that you're interested in. And that kind of like bridges that little gap for you.
Absolutely. I think my tip on how to socialize if you're an older adult would be to really look up opportunities to volunteer. What is something you're passionate about? So many of the volunteers that I meet and get to volunteer with, because I love volunteering, are older adults.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that. So where we live, the food bank is a huge place where a lot of people love to volunteer.
Right.
And it is, you can choose a job that works for you for volunteering, but there's women's clubs you can volunteer with. If you love pets, your local shelter, there's so many cool things you can do. So I think if you are still able to drive and get to places, finding a volunteer opportunity can really help you socialize, because truly that social isolation, it's going to be a piece that will, you will cognitively decline faster.
Absolutely. You cognitively decline faster if you are socially isolated, if you don't have people to talk to.
Absolutely. It's very, very important.
Yeah. And I think something that we'll definitely get into on later episodes is intergenerational relationships.
My
So-
favorite.
We are actually going to, in 2 episodes, maybe 1, we'll see, do a portrait of an older adult. And it is an older adult in one of our lives that we are going to interview and ask a series of questions to. And you all get to know them. And it's someone that we love. So we're very excited to share those people with you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on our journey with us.
Absolutely. The gerontology journey.
Absolutely. We will see you on our next episode.
Yeah. And don't forget, we are posting on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. And we're going to put our Instagram handles in the bottom for you.
Absolutely. And follow us directly.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Someone says, oh, my grandma is a senior, or there's a little elderly lady on the corner. I know for me, what I immediately think of is like a little lady with her hair and pushing a walker.